our elder statesmen, our political leaders, compatriots, contemporaries, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I stand here today honored by the burden of expectations upon me, and more tellingly, strengthened by the convictions of the patriot with us in this journey to make history. We are brought together by a chorus of ideas, and what defines us and sets us apart from other political groups is this collective realization that the future of this country rests on the choice of a unified leader. A leader who panders to neither ethnic nor religious agenda, and one who isn't bound by toxic regional solidarity, and yet known for a track record of outstanding leadership. If you look around this country in search of such a noble character, the count easily falls on the subject of this gathering, Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So much has been said about this political enigma, and most of them by heart with a poor sense of history. The path that led us to Ashwaju didn't happen by chance. His propensity for sacrificing his comfort to save our democracy has been duly documented across time. When uncertainty loomed over the country during the military era, this was the man who disbursed his resources to fight for the return of this democracy. Even in exile, he provided sanctuaries for fleeing patriots who are still around to testify to his large heart. Martin Luther King said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands at times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of conflict and controversy." Our younger compatriots must be in the know of Tinubu's memories from 2 decades past, when he was a backbone of the opposition and fiercely antagonized and politically ostracized by the then ruling party, the People's Democratic Party. He even built the economic foundations of the modern Lagos state at the time the state was isolated by a vindictive federal government. At the time he assumed the mantle of leadership in Lagos, the monthly IGR of Lagos here was 600 million naira. As can be attested to, in the first quarter of 2021, Lagos generated 128 billion naira as internally generated revenue. And it is pertinent to mention that Lagos is the third largest economy in Africa. While Tinubu's contemporaries were trading their principles for a place at the table in Abuja during President Olusegun Obasanjo's era, and throwing their political allies under the bus, he took the risk to build a political alternative to the ruling party. And his choices of candidates underline his political credentials. He became, and has remained, a dependable sanctuary of victims of political witch hunts. In 2007, he offered his political structure under the Action Congress to the elder statesman, Waziri Adamawa Vice President Atiku Abubakar, to run for president under the AC banner. 4 years later, he made this structure available to my brother, Madam Nuhu Ribaru of the EFCC PEM. And this foresight of the Jagaban Borgu will also set the tone of the 2015 general elections. His place as a fulcrum of the All Progressives Congress reasserted his essence, and we all owe him a debt of gratitude and deserve loyalty for prioritizing principles over personal gains. In 2015, some candidates with very huge war chests were itching to clinch the ticket of the APC, like the Rock of Gibraltar, Ashwaju, and his progressive team stood solidly behind the candidature of President Muhammadu Buhari. My simple question, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, where were the members, the new members of what I call the Buhari's Church of Latter-day Saints? Why were they? We knew where their political loyalty lies at that particular convention when President Muhammadu Buhari emerged as the presidential candidate of the APC. Why were they? And some people say anything goes in politics. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, not everything goes in politics. We shall have minimal thresholds below which we won't operate. And the irreducible minimum is that after 8 years of presidency in the North, the logic, common sense, equity, justice, and fairness demands that power should move to the southern part of the country. And who is better qualified? Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He'll be given the choice of first refusal. More than any other person, he has sacrificed more for this democracy, for the APC, and for the continuity of the Buhari legacy, for the consolidation of the Buhari legacy. He is an essential part of that equation. Ashwaju's choices and endorsements of Northerners. I am a Northerner. Senator Abu Ibrahim is from the North. Pastor Babachir Bebe Lawan is from the North. Over time, Ashwaju's choices and endorsements of Northerners as presidential candidates, while others were masterminding ethno-regional solidarity and fueling socio-cultural affinities, readily apparent to his pan-Nigerian profile. Where others see divisions to exploit, he sees collaborations. Where others chase an easy route to power, he reminds you of Jeffrey Soldier's immortal wisdom that patience is a conquering virtue. And it is this patience that brought us together here to remember the examples he has set and the debt we owe him. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the mudslinging that has spread Ashwaju since his presidential bid took the top spot in the country is a mere acknowledgement of his political track record and inimitable influence on our political scene. The attempts at weaving ridiculous fiction to override the history we have all witnessed demonstrate the detractors' utter desperation and cowardice. One of such is the mischievous fixation on his age and the wild conclusions that he is physically unsuitable for the office of the president. This obsession characterizes the thinking of those who have no understanding of Ashwaju's incredible work ethic. A few days ago, I joined him on a trip to Zamfara State to condole with the good people and government of Zamfara and identify with their realities. And the experience made a nonsense of this propaganda that he is unfit to run Nigeria. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on the eve of this trip, Ashwaju had retired at 6 a.m. after Subi prayers and was already awake and attending to guests by 11 a.m. We departed for Sokoto by around 2 p.m. and had to traverse the menacing hinterland of that part of the Northwest or 7 hours from Sokoto to Gusau, where he made a generous donation of 50 million naira, as he had in other places struck by tragedies, in Borno and in so many other states of the Federation. And then we came back to Sokoto. We returned back to Abuja by midnight. But then his schedule was entirely a series of meetings that kept him awake until 3 a.m. Now excuse my curiosity. How many of us here can match or endure such a demanding schedule? Ashuaju's alacrity, therefore, has never been a subject of skepticism for those who have worked with him. And even his critics are aware of this. If he were half the man in their tales by moonlight, he would have long succeeded in subduing him. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the mark of true leadership isn't the ability to lift a bag of cement. It's the mental effort to think rationally of solutions designed to redeem one's people and territorial jurisdiction. This was why leaders like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, stood out. Roosevelt took power in a country wrecked by the Great Depression of the 1930s and guided its economy through the Second World War. And the quality of his thoughts and ideas made the United States a superpower under his watch. Similarly, the accident that had Kenya's Mwai Kibaki confined to a wheelchair didn't disable his ability to produce sound ideas, and Kenyans were sold on his virtue, and they chose him as their president over what some would consider a Peter option. There is the case of Abdul Wahab Bouteflika in Algeria. I can mention so many names of leaders that performed excellently, including the current president of the United States of America, who became the president of America at the age of 78. I'm not asking you to turn down critical assessments of your future leaders, but redirect you to see the bigger picture. We are not here to prepare for the Olympics, but an institution that relies on the superiority of ideas to thrive. Ashuaju's credentials aren't only appealing, they are proof of the qualities this country needs to redeem its vast potentials and possibilities. We are here, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to testify to this power of ideas. As the largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa, and kept the opposition alive when it was more profitable to sell out. Those who seek to make us go low hope to present the presidency as a brick laying exercise. But that's the work of a machine created by an idea. And who else to guide us towards manufacturing the best ideas to reduce this country better than Ashwani Bola Ahmed Tinubu? To derail us at this point is a futile ambition. The conversations we are prepared for and pedestrian obsessions with the mundane, but comparisons of ideas and track records of service to the nation. At the top of our expectations from Nigeria's next president should be mastery of the dynamics of modern economy, testified leadership skills and competence, and very significantly, sensitivity to the complexities of the Nigerian sociology. Powers to reflect on this man we are here to celebrate. And what you see is a tested, accomplished, and large-hearted leader who has invested his resources in building an extensive network of political mentees who have risen to the peak of their career. He's a leader of leaders, a mentor who has mentored some of the best hands in this country. From our erudite Vice President Osibanjo, to Babatunde Raji Fashola, our lawyer who was sent into an engineer in the Federal Ministry of Works. from Rao Alek Beshola, from Mamora. And of course, seated here is James Paleki. From Lai Mohammed to Richard Adeni Adebayo. And to my friend, the Governor of Ekiti State, James Kayode Kayode, JP. These were all his members of his team, the Ashwaju team, that have excelled and continue to excel. And he's one leader with the largeness of heart to embrace all tendencies. This is a Muslim married to a pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church. He has that largeness of heart. And he has the capacity to forgive and embrace recalcitrant sons that have returned back to base. A lot of his prodigal children have returned back to his camp, and he has embraced them, empowered them, and made them have a sense of belonging. But in politics, of course, they comes with nothing to say always choose the mud. We are not going to take the bet. We are going to keep them talking and building with irrefutable records of Ashwaju's suitability to lead this country to the promised land. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. For those who have been in the system for long, understand that some characters' loyalty has a thing in common with a chameleon. What we promise, however, is to make sure that all Nigerians are presented with a side of the Jagaban Borgu, other than the fiction and half-truth and innuendos and lies from political desperados clinging to the rigging of a sinking ship. This is why we are here, to build and mobilize a network of believers and volunteers at the grassroots to help us deliver the Nigeria of our dream. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is a challenge for all of us, a generational challenge. The trajectory of global growth is facing Africa. The Asian tigers have matured. Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore. And Nigeria will make or mar that trajectory. 220 million black people, with some of the smartest people on earth. Ali Mazrui described the Igbos as the Nigerian Jews, geographically mobile, economically enterprising, and educationally ambitious. The Yorubas of the Southwest are certainly the most educated and the richest of the black race. The much hated and vilified Hausas, believe me, no part of the nation, of our nation, is complete without the Hausa man. They symbolize hard work and commitment. Ladies and gentlemen, let us make this country work. Let us root for a person who has the capacity. As I said earlier, the presidency is not a bricklaying exercise. And the president that we should have in 2023 must have 3 or 4 essential qualities. 1, the president of Nigeria in 2023 will have excellent economic management capabilities. Someone who will not dispense our useful time and energy on unnecessary recriminations and vendetta, but somebody who will build on the achievements of President Muhammadu Buhari. Work on areas where we have challenges and have a better Nigeria. The second quality of a Nigerian president in 2023 must be a leader who understands the complexity of the Nigerian nation and must have the capacity to be all-inclusive in forging the road ahead. And lastly, and most importantly, the president of Nigeria in 2023 you'll have the compassion and the courage, not only to forgive, but to embrace. Because if Nigeria fails, the black man has failed. I raise my case, and I thank you, Mr.